Sure, I know this has been the flavor of last few days, and tariffs have created an enormous amount of uncertainty, not only in India and US, but all over the world. So, as far as consumers are concerned, consumers in America and consumers in India is what I guess you meant, right? Uh, let's talk about American consumers, and then I'll come to the Indian consumers. So, see, the direct impact of any tariff increase is going to be passed on to the end consumer, right? That is basic economics. So, if the cost goes up, the supplier has to pass it on to the end customer. There are no in between channels that will absorb the cost. So if there's a 25% increase in tariff, I'm going to pay 25% more. If something is costing $100, I end up paying $125 when I go to a Target or a Walmart in US to buy the same Indian item, which I was probably paying 110 earlier, right? So that's a direct impact on the consumer. As far as in India is concerned, I think the tariffs are going to play out a little differently. Just the tariff part of it, independent of the oil and gas situation and the embargo that Trump is trying to bring on India as far as buying oil from Russia is concerned. Now, those will have some inflationary impact on the Indian consumers. But if you are an exporter and if you're exporting to America, you will make sure that you will pass on the cost to me. But the impact is going to be twofold, right? One is because it's a competitive situation. As you know, 25% is much more than most of the other Southeast Asian nations. So you become less competitive. So instead of exporting more, you might be exporting less, and that will probably create a profit margin pressure for Indian suppliers, Indian manufacturers. Exports might come down. We were 138 billion last year. We don't know if these tariffs will have a significant impact on the exports to America if the tariffs play out the way these threats are holding out at this point in time. The second impact on the Indian consumer is if there is a reciprocal tariff, and if India ends up paying more for goods that Indians are importing, that will again create inflation. So the equation is very clear, right? Tariff goes up, it sets an inflationary trend in America, right? And US is one of the leading economies in the world. Inflation in America will potentially have a trigger point to create all-round inflation in other geographies as well. And there could be some fallout in terms of inflation. If America can't contain inflation, that's going to be a huge red flag. And that is really what the consequences are going to be. But if oil becomes an issue, if India can't buy oil from Russia, given this tariff threats that are holding out, if it pans out that way, then I'm sure oil prices will go up in India significantly because the supply chain will get impacted, and the long-standing contracts with Russian oil will probably go through some change. Hopefully not, but I understand Indian government has taken a stand, and hopefully Indian consumers will be protected by the Indian government to the maximum extent possible. India obviously is in a challenging situation today, but keep in mind that India has very intelligently already diversified, whether it's oil imports or any other imports. I don't think India is depending on one source. I think there are multiple sources of oil, multiple sources of other products. India is also a huge economy. By On its own, India can stand enormous test. The litmus test that we are talking about today, right? And India is mostly a self-sustaining economy. Yeah, there are some interdependencies, but I have a feeling India will push towards more diversification. You already saw the trade agreement that we did with UK. and that's significant. And secondly, there could be some realignment in the Southeast Asian nations, and if both India and China are boxed together by America, and if that threat pans out to be real, there could be some realignment between India and China. You never know, because there is a trade happening between India and China, India and Russia, India and America. Although America has been the largest trading partner for India since 21-22, if the economics don't work out the way it should, I think diversification will be the key for India. And secondly, I anticipate a parallel diplomatic pursuit from India and US as well, because the two largest democracies cannot work against each other; they have to work together. So I personally am seeing this as a temporary phenomenon. I think over time it might settle down. Yeah, there's going to be some give and take on tariffs and some balance of trade issues, and who's exporting more, who's importing more. All these questions will come up. But if you look at what EU has done, they have promised a huge investment in America, right? So maybe India will get a bit innovative in terms of doing a deal with America, because yeah, just keep in mind that US has so much to offer today, with China not being a favored nation as far as manufacturing is concerned. One new trend which I'm seeing, which is not spoken about much in the media, is the new trend is, 10, 20 years back, it was all service companies coming to America. You had the big IT companies, product companies, service companies coming from India. Today, if you look at last 2 years in the discussions I've been involved in at all levels, America is actually encouraging Indian manufacturers to set up shop in America. Okay? And when you do that, the effect of tariffs is going to be quite diluted. And we are already seeing a pattern of Indian manufacturing companies want to set up shop and manufacture in America, which will be more like a hybrid manufacturing model, particularly in sectors like critical sectors like semiconductor, aerospace and defense, and AI. Of course, India will be counted upon significantly given the technology depth, so on and so forth. So those opportunities are kind of surrounding this cloud of tariffs. But once this cloud clears, I think India is going to be on a much better footing. So I would imagine the Indian government and the Indian private sector would look at these opportunities, while tariffs is a threat. Also look at the kind of sound bites we are hearing from White House. They want to structure a deal where India can get to 500 billion by 2030 in terms of bilateral trade, and that is significant. And that number, if we can achieve by 2030, despite the tariffs, and tariffs obviously will realign a bit in terms of exports and imports with other nations as well. I think India will still continue to work on its mission to march forward to be the third largest economy in the world. So this is a world where you really can't do business in isolation. America needs India in as much as India needs America. We will have to find a way to coexist and and work around these challenges and threats. Hopefully, they will all dilute in a short period of time. But yeah, there is no magic. There's some hard work required. Also, keep in mind one last point I want to make on this subject is India is a rising economy. I mentioned that as well yesterday on your channel. India is a rising economy, and when you are so significant and when you're so noticed, the climb up is going to be a bit turbulent. There will be challengers, there will be unexpected surprises coming our way. But as a nation, I'm pretty sure India has the wherewithal, the solidity, and the bandwidth to be absolutely resilient and resistant and weather all the storms, because from number 4 to number 3 in the world, number 3 to number 2 is going to be very steep, and it's going to be challenging. It's going to be a bit turbulent. It is going to be steep. So let's get prepared for hard work.